Hi, welcome to another episode of Why Didn't They Laugh? I'm your host, Owen Benjamin. Today we're going to do a real quick episode. It's more like why did they laugh and why wouldn't they laugh now? I was going through my YouTube page and I'm really digging YouTube these days. I didn't really do it very much for a while or promote it or anything. And now I'm starting to realize that there's a very cool community on there. And I was looking through my old videos, ones that I just put up randomly and kind of forgot about. And there was one that got almost 100,000 views. It just says Owen Benjamin Stand-Up. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of views. It's a lot more than I get now. I wonder what the jokes were. And I rewatched it. And it was put up 4 years ago. And I thought about whether or not these jokes would fly now. And I'm not going to play the whole clip, but I'll play you the end part of it. And I not only do I stand behind these concepts, I think they've become weaponized. Check this out.
Yeah, right? And they won't, even me saying this, like, I just saw a ton of dudes just be like, and they still won't buy it. They're like, oh no, he's doing something with that. It's very complicated, man. Girls think I'm mysterious. I can't be more obvious. This is it. You want to train a guy? Girls are always like, how do I get my husband to do what I want? He's always so like doing his own things, playing video games, watches ESPN, all that. Okay, treat him like a dog. We are dogs. We are simple, we're happy, and we want to serve you. I swear to God. If you want us to take out the garbage, don't yell at us, because then we'll pee on the bed. Fuck that. No. What you do is you encourage us like you would a dog. Who wants to take out the garbage? What? You're so good at taking out the garbage. I'm good at this? No fucking way. Oh my God, you see how good I am? Like we're 9-year-olds. Look at how good I am. Look at what I just did, Mom. I just put it in the garbage can. It's so good. Even sexually, like I have female friends that are like, my boyfriend never wants to go down on me. I'm like, tell him he's awesome at it. They'll be like, check this out, baby. Like, they just want to impress you. That's all we want to do. We don't have much value, men. That's why we're so happy. Because we're pawns. You know, you gotta protect the queen. We're just pawns. The pawns are happy motherfuckers. We just chill. You know, we find someone we want to have sex with, and then we have sex with them, and we love it. We keep having sex with them, and then we try to defend them from the other pawns. And then we make sure that they have soup and stuff, and blankets. And then we slowly die. And we work only to get you to fuck us more. But one thing women can learn from men, friendships. We're very good at bros. We are really good at making friends very quickly with other men, and we keep them for years and years, and they're very low drama, and they're totally sweet. Like, guys, like, can make friends over nothing. It's like, one of my best friends, like, someone would be like, hey, why are you friends with Steve? I'm like, we both like music and water. I died for him, man. I died for that dude. We both like water, man. We both hydrate. Women, it's complicated, right? She came to me at a really vulnerable time in my life, and we really like connected in a lot of ways. It's fucking craziness, right? Women have intense friendships, They can have very good friendships. I'm not saying women, but it's intense, and it's a whole different playing field. Like, women are more communist as a gender, and men are more capitalist as a gender. Like, female friendships have a zone, and no one rises or falls in that zone. It's true, this is where they are. No one can go above a 7 or below a 7 in happiness. It's a fact. If one girl is having a bad night, you will never see a more supportive group of people than other women. Like, when it's like, I can't believe Brian brought his new girlfriend. Literally, it's just Voltron. All the other women are just like, get the ice cream, lick her tears, keep everyone away from Tina. Let's go to the bathroom. You are a beautiful girl. You deserve better. Fuck you, we're going home. Right? Just boom. You ever see that with men? Never. We'll let people fall constantly. Someone's like, Todd just went through a breakup. He can't stop talking about it. Don't call him. He's being a fucking weirdo. Oh, he just got fired. He's going to have me pay for everything. Nah, fuck him. But the flip is true, and that's why women kind of screw themselves in the workplace. There's this big mystery, like, why aren't women president? Why aren't there more CEOs and shit? You guys think it's us holding you back. It's not. It's you guys holding yourselves back. Like when a man spots another man with skill and power, we try to align ourselves with them and support them. That's why we're a capitalist gender. He's the fastest, make him captain. Fuck yeah, he's my best friend, he's the fastest guy. He's the captain of the football team. Women, you ever see that? A girl will lose 30 pounds, become hot. Look at how hot Tina is. Yeah, Tina has herpes. You know that? Yeah, no. She slept with, she slept with Debbie's boyfriend. Don't say it. She lost weight because she's going through some really hard times. I think she does cocaine.
Yeah, and the rest of the joke, it's a solid joke about how men are capitalist, women are communist. And it's very true. And it's kind of necessary for mutual survival in a way. You know, I don't think that's bad. I think that there's a great balance that happens between men and women. But the way the joke kind of goes now is, I haven't done it in a while for obvious reasons. But I'm like, men support strength. You know, we're like, that guy's the fastest. Yeah, make him captain of our team. I will follow that man. He's great at our game. And women are like, she's the prettiest. Tell everybody she loves her, or she has herpes. That's like how it goes now. It's a bigger laugh, but the also reverse is true. We're like, you're at a bar, and like if you're having a good time with a group of women, the weakest woman sets the tone. You know, where it's like you could be dancing with a girl who's having fun, and then one of her friends, it's like, oh my God, Brian is here. I can't believe he's with his new girl. And all the other girls are like, Tina's sad. We got to get out of here and protect the weak. And then they all they're Voltron, just licking tears, eating ice cream. They're just out. And I think what we're experiencing now culturally is the first time in human history where we're starting to see what female authoritarianism looks like. Because both extremes are not good. You know, because men can take their masculinity to an abusive degree. I've done USO tours in the Middle East, and when you go over there, it's pretty shocking how male it is, in the sense that it's male to like when people talk about toxic masculinity. Yeah, go to Saudi Arabia, go to Qatar, go to Oman, Kuwait, Iraq, been to all these places, and you'll just see these palaces right next to like a ghetto with like tents and shacks, and you know, the poorest people you've ever seen next to these ultra rich, like mega, you know, they eat the weak. And there's just these princes with gold plated machine guns in their basement. No one's supposed to know about that, but it's miserable. You know, it's got one of the highest rates of teenage suicide through drugs, and it's a fairly miserable existence. And then now America and Canada and a lot of parts of Europe are experiencing an increase in female totalitarianism, like their mentality is being unchecked. And because a lot of people don't understand that compassion and empathy can be used as weapons. And I'm a good person to explain this because I think I'm on the more feminine side of male. I think a lot of men these days act like caricatures of women. I'm still male, but growing up, I played football, I played lacrosse, but I was like the dreamer. You know, I was the guy that like the kids on the bus would like sit next to if they wanted to like talk about like their feelings. And I like became captain of my lacrosse team because I just tried really, really hard because I wanted to be great. But at the same time, like in football, I got a coach named Coach DeRose. He would just mock me. Like, he'd be like, "Gee, Owen." That's how he talked. He got hit in the head a lot. He's like, "You're looking at planet Jupiter. What are you looking at?" Because I'd just be dreaming, you know? And even when I played violin, I'd have my head back, just playing, like staring at the ceiling, and I'd still like win stuff. But people got mad at that. They're like, you're a space cadet. They used to call me a space cadet. But I still believed in hierarchy of greatness and talent. I wanted to be, I wanted to try hard, you know? And the way you weaponize compassion is, Jordan Peterson talked about it really well. How people think just compassion is a virtue. But compassion is only a virtue when it's linked to reality, and it's also linked to a strong sense of self and societal goals. Okay, for example, the example Jordan Peterson used was like a bear mother. Like anything that isn't her cubs is the enemy. You know, the world itself is broken up into baby or snake. So if you are part of like this female regime mentality, as soon as like just me saying this definitely offended somebody who now labels me enemy, and now they can justify killing you. You know, when things go to an extreme. Like I've heard the rhetoric of this, where it's like if you are against weakness, and one of the reasons I was inspired to do this episode based on a YouTube comment I got on my last episode. By the way, thank you so much for the comments. I mean, it's so funny. I've been getting comments. Something changed in YouTube. Maybe it's my content, or maybe it's just people got sick of trolls, or I don't know what. But like, I didn't even used to read my comments because some of them would be so like insane. And now I read them to like learn. Like I'll make mistakes, or someone will add something amazing. And this one guy talked about how in my last episode I talked about the social justice warrior hierarchy, and this how it's like a snake eating itself. And whoever, I don't know if this is a male or female. I don't remember the name attached to it, but he or she brought up a concept that blew my mind. It was reverse eugenics. Because eugenics is masculinity taken too far. And if anyone's offended by me saying we're witnessing female authoritarian mentality, that's my point. You shouldn't be offended by anything, like a thought. You should like take it in and think about it. Because male authoritarian absurdity is just as scary. It's like crazy. There has to be that balance, that male-female yin-yang gender mix to make it great, you know, because reverse eugenics, you know, he was talking about how in the future, it's almost like people will want to like hack off their own arm just to get a promotion. And it's true. It's almost like we're entering a time where greatness doesn't matter as much as victim group. Where if you're identified as a victim, you are protected indefinitely, and that everything is a power struggle, and not a struggle for greatness, and that will deteriorate our world, which is very amazing. Like we're like, people talk about the 1%. Like just existing right now, you're in the 1/10 of 1% of human existence. Like most of human existence was a horror show. And we now, you know, have so much wealth and time and prosperity, even the poorest members of our society, that these people can afford, ironically, to sit in their little ivory tower intellectual classrooms and talk about why it's all wrong. But that's why I love the Batman series, because the Batman, Christopher Nolan's Batman, takes these archetypes of myth, you know, these universal truths of human nature, and just lays them out in this grand movie way. And I loved when the Joker, what was I just talking about? Oh, was it about the hungry dogs? Oh yeah, when he's like, that scene with the hungry dogs, he's like, they will eat each other. About how these civilized people, you know, like, they're civilized because they're so full. And there's a real hypocrisy to it, because I think I was raised well. Somewhere along the way, I was gifted with a good set of principles to guide me through some of this fog and some of this deceit and hypocrisy. Because when I gain things, or status, or prosperity, time, luxury, I feel a sense of gratitude. You know, I'm like, wow, I am one lucky SOB. There's a huge amount of people that now feel resentment and anger, and it almost entitles them to be ruthless and mean. Because to be a great man, you have to have some female in you. You have to have that bit of compassion that allows you to be truly great. You know, Joe Rogan has elements of that. When he interviewed, like, I've heard he's cried in interviews. He's compassionate, but at the same time, you got to have that element of like, this is reality. You know, the healthcare thing is really opened my eyes to that. When all these people praise the Obamas of the world for saying everybody deserves healthcare, even the weak, the little guy, they all deserve healthcare. It's like, that's not brave to say. That's the easiest possible thing you can say. Of course, why wouldn't everyone want everyone to get healthcare? Does anyone not want that? The reality of the situation isn't that. And as soon as you start talking reality, like how? People just, it's baby cubs and mother cub. Oh, you're gonna hurt the weak. It's like, no, I'm not here to hurt the weak. The only way to help the weak is to figure out a game plan and not just throw these words into the wind that are meaningless. Everybody deserves health care. Everybody should have a 20-inch dick and $1 billion. Yeah, that homeless guy, I'm gonna give him a bar of gold. Every homeless person should have a bar of gold. That's who is that? Louisiana politician, Long. That's when the left becomes authoritarian and crazy. Because there's a role for the left. I'm actually naturally more left oriented, but that was before it got hitched and attached to politics. Like naturally, I'm liberal in the sense that I'm extremely open-minded. I'm not very organized. I'm a dreamer. I come up with ideas. But here's the kicker. That's always made me very drawn friendship-wise to people that are more conservative and conscientious. It's like Steve Jobs and Wozniak. They made a great team. You know what I mean? Like I'm drawn to the more right-wing type person that's like, well, here's our game plan. Listen, we got to cut this expense. If you want to do that, like me and my wife actually have an interesting dynamic because she's more like conscientious, conservative. She has her master's in engineering. I always make fun of her that I'm the dreamer, and then she tells me why my dreams are impossible. But I love her. She loves me. We're married. And what's happened, I think, culturally, and it is a problem, guys. Problem, threat. I'm not saying these videos, I'm not making these videos because I want to upset people or be heavy or serious. I'm a comedian. I love just playing music and doing jokes. It's a threat to our way of life. Because if you keep blindly just anybody who claims victim status, giving them everything they asked for, you will have no society left. And it should be a mutual working together type thing. I said this concept to a friend recently, a liberal friend, quote unquote, like the new liberal, like the crazy ones. I was like, it's funny how liberals are open-minded except to conservative ideas. Like a true liberal should be liberal to conservatives. And they're like, no, the devil. You know, their rhetoric is right out of like Mama Bear nightmare. Like, no, everyone except us and victims and the young and the weak are the enemy. And that's just not livable. It's like, no, conservatives conserve. Like if you know something's working or you develop a system that works, you have to have people that say, stop, we're good, this is working. And then you also have to have those people like me that respectively and civilly and artistically chip away at that and just poke and make jokes and satirize and you know, bend and twist. We're almost like the health inspectors of conservative ideals where you just poke at it and make jokes and see where the irony is. Like, but you don't want to hurt them or take them out of power or readjust our entire hierarchy system to be against good. Like imagine if sports worked that way. Imagine if the NBA had to hire an equal amount of every race and gender. Would anyone watch the NBA? Like imagine if it's just a bunch of Jewish women playing against like, you know, Shaquille O'Neal and a Jewish woman. It's like, man, actually that'd be pretty entertaining just watching him dunk. But like that level of masculinity is great. Like, and there's the irony about this though, because there's ways to do it right and ways to do it wrong. Like the dictator totalitarian asshole is bad. You know, that's when masculinity is not done properly. But even look at Genghis Khan, who is a horrible man in a lot of ways. Like, he probably raped 20,000, 50,000 people. His crew killed 50 million people, let's be honest. But, you know, it was 800 years ago. Let's not judge. But this is the thing about true masculinity taken to the extreme. Genghis Khan is one of the first leaders in human history that was okay with, he had freedom of religion, and he also would use conquered people, like the best people he wouldn't kill, he'd use them. That's why he had the biggest conquered area of any human in the history of the world, because he would be like, okay, you're the best archer in the world. Like, you're great at shooting bows. I know you were just shooting bows at me, and, you know, a little pissed, but we'll get through it. What do you say you come on my squad? And so he would create this crew that was just great, you know, and he'd, and if someone was a different religion, like, bigotry actually hurts capitalism. It hurts power. It hurts society. Because if the best person in society is black and it's run and your government is racist, you're going to miss out on that opportunity of talent and greatness. You know, if the best fighter pilot is a woman and you won't let women be fighter pilots, you're not going to shoot down as many enemies. And so the hierarchy of greatness works really well. And I think moving forward, we have to keep this in mind, because just like that dude said, or that woman said in my YouTube comments, reverse eugenics is as scary as eugenics. Like, eugenics is weird. You know, you like kill people with any under a 70 IQ, you kill them. See, that's not good either. That's when you need more compassion. It's that battle, that back and forth battle we need. Because this is what I'm afraid of. And I got a clip here that it's one of my favorite clips in movie history. But if we don't curb this out of controlness, because we need to start hurting some feelings, not because it feels good. That's a bad form of masculinity. You want someone who can sternly tell you reality and like whip you into shape and compete and just be tough. You know, no one will ever watch a sports movie where the coach is a feminist or, you know, like a social justice progressive Yale chick. Like, that would be so boring, where it's like, everyone gets to play. I know we're the Hoosiers, but we have to play everyone. And if you have a problem, then the safe space. Like, that would suck. But I don't even know what I'm talking about. I like to one take these babies. So there's no editing in this. What the hell was I talking about when I started doing the feminist voice? Oh, when masculinity goes bad, or when it goes good? Oh yeah, well, all I'm saying is we got to keep it in check, because you don't want to get these hoarders, these men without a little bit of female in them, because then they become these tyrannical dictators, and usually they die a very messy death. Your society becomes a banana republic. You know, it's just a oligarchy. It's just a disaster. But if you become too female, you become the communist Russia, which had a higher death rate than the Nazis ever put up. You know, they're putting up big numbers. Because you can't force equality. If you force equality, you start killing. This is an interesting story from World War II. Stalin was so paranoid that when a general in war would do really well, he'd kill him. That's when it gets bad. One of the reasons that we beat Russia, it was a war of attrition. It was a war of who can stay on their feet the longest. When you're in a society where if you're really good at something, you get killed, like, and the cost. Like, I have an issue with Netflix these days. I've always wanted to be on Netflix really bad. Like, one of my biggest career goals was to be on Netflix, because, you know, it's just this kick-ass company that like blew Blockbuster out of the water, had a lot of ingenuity, and everyone sees those specials and it just piped into the whole world, you know, just kick-ass. When I found out that they went back and re-edited Bill Nye's old videos because of the political fallout over his claims. I mean, when can you ever trust them again? Like, when you know someone is that delusional that ends justify the means stuff, where like you can just straight up lie to protect the weak and the dumb and the silly, you can't have an honest conversation. Like, look at the healthcare thing that I was just talking about. It isn't cut and dry. I want universal healthcare, but I also know how hard that is. This is one of the reasons I want universal healthcare, which a lot of my super right-wing buddies think I'm an idiot. But I think that universal healthcare would actually increase ingenuity in America, and that's the thing that makes us the greatest, is we're the dreamers. You know, we invented the television and the phone and the microphone, you know, all this stuff that, you know, China can replicate and Japan can hone in and make awesome. But America are dreamers, you know, business starters, entrepreneurs. And I know as a struggling artist over the years that like the pressure to keep healthcare can sometimes keep you at dead-end jobs. I had that pressure. I'm so fortunate and lucky to be able to afford my own healthcare, but it's expensive as shit. And if everyone had healthcare, the dreamers, the people with an idea could just pursue that. And I think it would be incredible for our culture. But at the same time, we've set up this over-maternal Oedipus type society where you're encouraged to be weak and to not try. When me and Amy were getting married, the thought crossed our mind not to. Never for real, but like, if you have a child and you're not married, the government just gives you free money. And when we got married, when she walked down the aisle, she was pregnant. And so, but my ethics and her ethics and our goals for our lives and our morality and our families, you know, marriage was very important to us. But when you're in a system where like if you have 10 kids from 10 different guys, you get more money, that's so bad. That's reverse eugenics culturally. That's reverse cultural eugenics. And you open the door for extreme cultures that we will not name because I don't want to be pulled off YouTube, but extreme cultures from an extreme part of the world where they do extremely horrible things to women. If you claim victim status, it seems like this over-maternal mania. It's just like, no one say anything about them. It doesn't matter if they cut off everyone's clit and throw everyone who's artistic off a roof. It doesn't matter. I had an interesting conversation on stage a couple years ago. This one guy was, I didn't know what kind of race he was. So being a jackass and just an overall fun guy to be around, this guy, I asked him, I was like, so what are you? And he was like, I'm a Creole. I was like, what does that mean? You're like a shrimp? And he was like, no, it means my great-great-grandmother was raped by a white man. And maybe I'm on the spectrum, because the crowd was like, ooh, and I go, but that means your great-great-grandfather raped a black chick. You're equal parts victim and predator in that scenario. Like if you're the product of rape, okay, you can't just claim rapist. It's literally 50-50. There isn't even a debate on that. Half your genetics are from the predator and half were from the victim. So it was just so funny to me that in that situation he could claim victim status, even though he's the descendant of a guy who raped a black chick. I just find that very odd. When someone's like, yeah, my great-great-grandmother was raped by a white man. And I'm like, or your great-great-grandfather raped an innocent black woman. And I just think people enjoy being victims now. I can see a lot of people on the left can't comprehend people that don't want to be victims. I don't want to be a victim. There's things that have happened in my life that like I could have gotten so much brownie points and social signaling and all that stuff. There's things that I've never revealed to the world at all that would literally make me the king of Huffington Post. Like events and like people I'm close to that you wouldn't, it's just hilarious. Like I almost am like, I could have done that road, but I don't want to put people on parade or myself and things I just want to get past. I don't want to put that on display when I'm trying to be great at something. I want people to look at me and say, that's a great comedian. He has great podcasts. He's a great family man. He's a great American, and he's a great citizen of the world. I don't want people to look at me and think of all the terrible things that I've seen or done or felt. Or I don't understand that front loading of self-victimization unless someone did a game theory about it where they allowed someone to, if you claim victim, you win in these social scenarios, and almost 100% of people chose that route because it's so easy. I remember in LA a few years ago, I was going to do a sketch about it, but then my managers and agents warned me strongly against it. But I wanted to do a whole series called I Was Raped, Girl. Because you would go to a party sometimes in LA, I swear to God, and you'd be having a conversation about something completely random and not that serious, and someone would hijack the conversation and then tell everyone they were raped. And I remember thinking, like, this is compassion weaponry. You know, someone would be like, well, as a rape victim, I don't appreciate that you think the Rams are going to win this year. It was literally that crazy, where it's like, well, as a victim of incest, because my second cousin once kissed me, I just don't think that Avatar was really a bad movie. I loved it. I think like, where they're jumping from tree to tree. A lot of the biggest YouTube stars are people just promoting themselves as victims. It's literally just like, as the gay man, I suck dick, okay? And I'm the king brave. Who the fuck? It's like this, we have a glitch in our DNA that's based around protecting our own young. And I understand that. It works great when we're on the plains of Africa trying to avoid lions. But like, how does that work now? Like, no one wants to just watch someone bitch, right? Or am I crazy? Am I a dying breed? But I know there's more of me because I do live shows. So this algorithmic trick, this industry bullshit, this Netflix like, yeah, you can have a special as long as you are from a victim category or you're super famous. And it's like, dude, how about just watch people crush? No, I mean, it's not even brave. It's not even brave. Jesus, it's one thing to be vulnerable. It's another thing to just be manipulative. And there's no place for that. And that leads me to my final point here. When you back male emotion into a corner like that, the results are really bad. You gotta let each gender release. You know, when you go to that area of the world that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to be pulled off YouTube, and you see the women covered in head to toe in black, you can feel that the feminine nature and the female brilliance and the need for that gender side is just so pushed down. And out of that are these crazy dudes, just crazy dudes, you know, that on another day in another place in another culture would be awesome. And I don't even think it's the religion that necessarily is the biggest factor in all that. You know, I was reading and listening about that situation, the people, you know, Voldemort, the people that we won't talk about, because I know a lot of these people in America that are chill as hell. And I've always thought that. And then you see the true horror that can happen from this. And you realize that a lot of it is cultural factors. But you can't discuss that, or else someone calls you, they identify you as a snake near their baby, and then they want to destroy you. Anyway, you back someone in a corner too far, the movie Fight Club was very telling about that. You know, it's just people, just men, just literally just started punching each other in the face. So anyway, the group of those people, Muslims, come on, let's just be adults here. The reason it's so much worse in certain European countries than it is here, like, let's be honest, terrorism isn't that big of a threat in America. It's like most of the Muslims I know, just like, you know, taking ecstasy and jumping up and down and working out on the beach and just reading books, and it's just, that's the other side. I have some right-wing friends that'll get angry at me right now for that and be like, no, it's systemic. It's like, dude, I open my eyes and I judge the world based on what I see, and I don't feel it's the biggest threat here, right? Okay, anyway, there is an ideological contagion that can pass, and people can, you know, sleep or sell themselves, or I don't know. Doesn't register to me. If someone's a Muslim, literally doesn't even affect me, unless they're like really into it. And I'll tell you, my accountant once told me, and my friend, I don't trust anyone who's really into anything. Like, it's scary if someone's really into like a video game. Someone's like, listen, dude, Sonic the Hedgehog, all right? That's all I'm gonna say. Sonic the Hedgehog will bring us peace. Sonic the Hedgehog. That's all I do. That guy scared the shit out of me, right? But what happens in Europe, and this is when socialism goes bad, and you know, this female autocracy, is they bring in these immigrants and they don't allow them to assimilate. They over-pamper them so they never get to become the citizens, right? There was enough male energy in America when my ancestors came here where they just got put through the ringer, you know? Just put through, like, just put through the hell. And out of that came cultural unity somehow. But it's a beautiful thing in a way. It's almost like hazing for a football team. But in countries of Europe, you take these people with vastly different cultures and you put them in self-contained ghettos, and you give them money so they don't have to work. A lot of assimilation comes from work. When I used to work tree jobs, I was an arborist in Georgia when I was in high school in the summers, because my brother did that for a living. I go down and work with him. And some of the southern dudes, because, you know, I'm not working with Atlanta software engineers from, you know, Delaware. I'm talking southern, like people whose ancestors remember someone telling them about Sherman's March. You know, these people are like, dude, fuck you guys. And they have a right. You know, I get it. I get that. The Civil War can be painted all different ways. Am I glad the slaves were free? Yes. Did I have some relatives in the North that fought on that side? Yeah. Do I see the Southern, you know, if 1% of the population owns slaves, but like they come down and they just burn everyone's fields and just start shooting everybody? Yeah, that's a problem. You know, it's similar to a form of genocide. But anyway, these dudes wouldn't hang with me for a little while. They're like, where are you from? I'm like, New York. They're like, all right. And they weren't like mean, but they wouldn't like hang. And then after a while, once they started picking up on my culture and my social vibes, that I was funny, not really judgy, not preachy, you know, I just like to have a good time. I worked hard. If you work hard, that goes a long way in a very male job, like cutting down trees. And finally, they started justifying friendships by being like, man, I'll never forget this line. This dude named Dale, just out of nowhere, he goes, New York. He goes, that's like the East, right? I'm like, yeah, it's the East. He's like, yeah, like Wisconsin's like the North. New York is like more like East. And in my mind, I'm like, he has to justify our friendship somehow by like whittling away the concept of me being Northern. And so I went with it. I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. New York. It's like it's more like the East. And then after that, we're friends. You know? So what happens in Europe is they put them in these areas where they can't assimilate. They give them free money, free healthcare, all that. They don't even have to learn the language a lot of times. They don't have to change. They don't have to adapt. And it's such a culture shift that us and them mentality is so prevalent that they can be absorbed into these monstrous ideologies like ISIS, you know, because they have no meaning. They have no purpose. Men need a mission. You know, I have enough Marine friends that have died from heroin overdoses where, like, I know the destructive force of a warrior being told that they have no marching orders forever. It'll drive you nuts. So if you put these men, these young men with no purpose, they're not, let's say you put them in Holland. They're not Dutch. They're nothing. They're not Syrian anymore because they're not in Syria. But they're not really Dutch because all they're around is Syrians. They're not learning a new language. They don't have to work because they're just given money. There isn't a culture on the planet that wouldn't start picking up some bad fucking habits at that point. You see it everywhere. And that's why I have empathy in a way. Don't get me wrong. Not like the crazy way, but enough where I'm like, imagine if you have no purpose. Like you're just in this socialist ether and you're not assimilating, you don't have identity, you don't have... It's so ironic that these privileged, elitist college kids are obsessed with identity, but they don't see where we rob identity, where we call people white. You know, it's like, well, I want to start a German club. No, Germans, no, bad. Germans, bad. No, we want to wear lederhosen and dance around and drink beer and talk about, you know, Haagen-Dazs ice cream. It's like, no, that's racist. So what are you guys? We're in the black club. You don't want to take someone's ancestral DNA, and you also don't want to not allow them to assimilate, right? All the safe space stuff. It's a reflection. It's a dark mirror reflection of what's happening. This is going to sound, I'm definitely, some of you guys are going to hate me for saying what I'm about to say. Some of these jihadists got fucked over. Like imagine that. Imagine being on that level of loneliness and like, that's why I'm like on the bitch side of being a man. I get it. I have like natural fucking empathy sometimes. I get it. But don't get me wrong. I'm not like, let him flood in and fuck everybody without consent. I'm not one of those guys. But like, imagine if you have no identity and you're just floating in the ether and just nothing matters. And you just get paid. Every kid you have, they pay you more. Just sit there, just waiting to die. And then someone just whispers, "You're special." And you're like, "What? I'm special?" Yes. You're chosen. That's how you start cults, right? You're one of the chosen ones. You're going to set us free. And when you die violently, that is when you're a true hero. And you're like, well, I have nothing else. I have nothing else. There's no other reason why wouldn't I do that? And then you make the human brain eat itself. And Western culture is awesome. Big fan. I know I'm biased, but it's awesome because a meritocracy is one of the only things that's fair. And one thing men need is fairness. And you might call football overly aggressive and patriarchal, and we should have games where no one wins and loses. No, we have games with rules. And that's what we love because that's equality. Anybody that can run super fucking fast can be a great football player. And you don't bring a gun, you don't bring a rocket launcher, you don't even bring a baseball. And if you break the rules, there's a penalty and everyone agrees upon it. And these giant men don't fucking beat up the refs. That's fair and we need that. And when you take that from us, there could be a power shift that's so jarring to people that I'm scared for their lives. I don't want any of that. My goal in life is to raise my family and just spend time with them, hang out with my brother, my friends, do comedy, do podcasts, play the piano, be healthy, leave behind a legacy that my kids will be proud of, die happy, surrounded by family, stay hydrated, jump some rope, go for a jog. I want to see other people and see good. In my mind, I want to see potential. I want to see like, oh, nice. They're going to take over the reins for us. They're going to do a good job. Like, what the fuck was I talking about? I don't know. I don't know. I was like really picturing myself going down the street, like saying hi to people and stuff. And like, why that's good. I don't know. Oh, yeah. The thing I don't want is war. And I think I've never in my lifetime seen something as close to civil war as what's coming. If there's any more levels of ratcheting this up, because we have the rhetoric right now. We have the rhetoric, deplorables, right? Half the country's calling the other half deplorable. Once you start using those pejoratives, once you start putting people in boxes, it's the first step to genocide. And people think that that's hyperbolic. It's not. This has happened more times in history than it hasn't happened. And then what's the other side call the other one? Okay, they call them, then they call them like libtards. Were you some kind of libtard? Fucking fruity, Although I will say the right lately has been more tolerant. That's just me. I'm going to get hate mail for that. But once you set that up, once you start ratcheting that up, and you make American men have no purpose, where trying hard doesn't matter, where the best at something could be replaced by someone who has a different skin color, and that can go either way, by the way. You can do that to black people for a different minority that came up that day. No one's safe. Bernie Sanders is a white man with 3 houses. He'd be eaten in a fucking week. When you do that, you put people in a position where there can be a quick and massive shift in power. Just like a guy from one of my favorite movies. Check this out.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
What the hell is going on?
Our plan is proceeding as expected.
Oh, really? Do I look like I'm running Wayne Enterprises right now? You're hit on the stock exchange. It didn't work, my friend. And now you have my construction crews going around the city at 24 hours a day. How exactly is that supposed to help my company absorb Wayne's?
Leave us.
No, you stay here. I'm in charge.
Do you feel in charge?
I've paid you a small fortune.
This gives you power over me?
What is this?
Your money and infrastructure have been important. Till now.
What are you?
I've Gotham's reckoning. Here to end the borrowed time you've all been living on.
Pure evil.
I'm necessary evil.
Isn't that haunting? Can you imagine that? If someone just puts their hands on your shoulder and says, "You think this gives you power? You feel it in control." Whatever. I mean, I've had a knife held in my throat. I've seen power shifts so fast that all my theories in the world are just gone, right? It's like when you're about to give someone a lecture on queer feminist theory and they just hold a gun to your head, it's all over. And you want to know, that's when the birds of paradise need pigeons. That's one of the chapters in my book that's coming out. That these pigeons exist because they have no predators. I just went for a jog in the woods. It's full of deer because there's no wolves here anymore, right? And these deer have balls now. They just come right up to you. And I'm like, "Hey, aren't you a prey animal?" They're like, "Bitch, there's nothing hunting me." And I'm like, "Oh, look at the prey animal has balls." So what happens is the birds of paradise have all these huge feathers. And that happens because people don't mate, or the birds don't mate out of necessity or power or food. They mate out of boredom, right? When there are no predators, they can just be like, "That one has a little bit bigger of a feather." And the feather guy's like, "Oh." And then they just start developing these huge feathers, right? Introduce a predator, dead. Because your big stupid feather gets you fucking killed. And the pigeon is the opposite. They mate because it's cold. And, shit hunts them. And so when a predator is reintroduced to the wild, and it will happen, it always happens, always, always. There will be another predator. Whether it's another culture, whether it's another nation, whether it's a fucking disease, whether it's a tsunami, I don't know. The power grid shuts off. 48 hours without electricity. 64 hours without electricity. 500 hours without electricity. At what point do you look for your toxic masculinity? At what point do you look around and say, "Where are those men? Where are the men that we treated like shit for the last 10 years that are strong with food and guns? You see what I'm saying? So I will close on this. By the way, if you want to support, you can go to patreon.com/WDTL for Why Didn't They Laugh. I'm about to start a Patreon page. I want to crowdfund a special, a comedy special. Do it cheap, but unless I become a black lesbian overnight, I don't think I'm going to get a special with Netflix anytime soon. And as I said earlier, I'm not a fan of victimizing myself, so I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to need a lot. I got camera guys that work for free. I got a theater that'll do it for free. I know all these art directors because I hosted the awards for so long. They could, some of the best art directors in the world could help out, but you still got to pay for shit. So I might start that. But in the meantime, you can support on Why Didn't They Laugh, WDTL on Patreon. You can email me, whydidn'ttheylaugh@gmail.com, and always comment on this video because I read all of them and you guys are legit smart. But I'll close on this. There is no right answer when it comes to liberal conservative. It's a yin yang. And the most important part of the yin yang isn't the yin yang, it's the two circles inside the yin yang. Because you need to have a little bit of each to be a balanced yin or a balanced yang. You got to have some yin in your yang and some yang in your yin. And when you see liberalism pushed too far, you start seeing what we're seeing now, where Canada in some schools now doesn't allow Mother's Day or Father's Day because it makes genderqueer, binary, fucking birds of paradise idiots feel bad. And when you're the mama cub, all you care about is feelings and your baby cubs. You want to protect the weak, right? But you're now taking away the day of the mother, the day of the father, and fuck that. But when you go too far the other way, you go too far in the right wing, then you get some pretty nasty shit too. You get people that start taking pleasure in eating the weak. That's when masculinity becomes really bad. You know, training the weak, hitting the weak, encouraging the weak, yelling at the weak, showing the weak where they're wrong, making them strong is great. Enjoying it, not great. You should never enjoy hurting someone. And that's where the masculine road can become psychotic. So I think moving forward, we all should think, I think about it all the time. This is not a preachy thing right now. I'm not trying to tell you how to live. I'm telling you things that I learned today. This is a fight I have with myself, with my family, with my culture, with my God. You know, these are things that I wrestle with on a daily basis. And I'm not talking down to you like, today, class. No, I feel like I'm sharing because I have the time to think about this all day. And I think moving forward, it's important to think about that we need all these elements to be complete, but not to let them go crazy, or else you get Lena Dunham. Much love. Why didn't they laugh? HugePianist.com for tour dates. Mwah.